Release the Epstein files. Release the Las Vegas shooter files. Release the JFK files. AG Pam Bondi. We saw over the weekend you are reviewing all files from JFK to Epstein. We are all anticipating their release. When will they be declassified and available to the public? Today would be a great day for AG Pam Bondi to release the Epstein files. The truth will set us free. On February 11th and 19th, the House Oversight sent a letter to the DOJ asking for status on releasing the Epstein files, as well as JFK, etc. The DOJ has not responded, reaching out on X because we can't seem to get a response from the AG. AG Pam Bondi, what is the status of the documents? These documents were ordered to be declassified. How great is it that they're ordered to be declassified, but they're not released, and the only way to try to get a response is to post on Twitter? Now, I do have a theory, along with a lot of other people, that the reason there's a delay is due to the Epstein files, because some of that was out there already, and there was a man involved in it. In fact, there were 14 phone numbers for that man, and his name was Donald Trump. And I get the feeling they want to do an extensive search for any other mentions before it's released. But we have a little more here. I'm excited to have Rep. Brandon Gill join our GOP Oversight Task Force. We won't let the government operate in the shadows any longer. It's time for the people to know the truth. We won't let the government operate in the shadows any longer. Remember that for the next thing we're going to take a look at. Now, I want you to remember, through all of this, we won't let the government operate in the shadows any longer.
Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president's executive order creating Doge called for the naming of a Doge administrator. Who is the Doge administrator?
So the president tasked Elon Musk to oversee the Doge effort. There are career officials and there are political appointees who are helping run Doge on a day-to-day basis. There are also individuals who have onboarded as political appointees at every agency across the board to work alongside President Trump's cabinet to find and identify waste, fraud, and abuse, and they are working on that effort every day.
So is Elon
Reagan.
Musk the administrator?
Reagan.
You'll notice she doesn't answer who's actually the administrator for Doge, and that's very simple. Because they keep changing the answer, and most recently, this got brought up in court because it's very shady. Let's take a listen to that.
Sure.
Great, thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about a federal judge yesterday was saying that they didn't know who the Doge administrator was and was asking the lawyer for the administration who it was, and the lawyer responded, I don't know the answer to that. Can you tell us who the administrator of Doge is?
Again, I've been asked and answered this question. Elon Musk is overseeing Doge. There are No, Elon Musk is a special government employee, which I've also been asked and have answered that question as well. There are career officials at Doge. There are political appointees at Doge. I'm not going to reveal the name of that individual from this podium. I'm happy to follow up and provide that to you, but we've been incredibly transparent about the way that Doge is working.
Except you haven't. Literally in court. Literally now. Very shady. Very shady. Now, anyone who's old enough to remember George W. Bush, you might remember that big scene on the ship where it says mission accomplished and how that became a meme because it was a massive, massive failure in the Middle East. Don't worry, Trump already has his own, and I don't understand why they're going with this. I believe they show it in a second here, but this is another very important clip from this same briefing.
Driven by common sense. And finally, as you all saw yesterday, a federal judge denied.
So what you have behind her, and I might make it the thumbnail, the official White House account and Trump's account posted an image saying Gulf of America with victory on it. The reason they're saying that is because a judge denied the Associated Press's emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against the president's actions and the White House's actions to have them not be allowed in certain areas as a violation of their First Amendment right, media rights, things like that. You can look up that case if you would like. But they're declaring victory that there wasn't a temporary restraining order. The Associated Press is still taking them to court. The case wasn't thrown out. They didn't win. But they're calling it a win. And in fact, they are taking it as such a win, they are wanting to restrict the media even farther. Kind of shadow-like.
Denied the Associated Press's emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against myself, our Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich, and our Chief of Staff Susie Wiles for our decision to remove the Associated Press from the White House press pool for certain and special events. The judge's ruling upholding our decision to deny the Associated Press such privileged access reinforces the truth. And it reiterates what I said from this podium last week when that suit was filed. Asking the President of the United States questions in limited spaces such as the Oval Office in Air Force One is a privilege that unfortunately has only been granted to a few. It is not a legal right for all. The Trump administration has already proven to be the most transparent ever, and this president the most accessible in history. This is evidenced by President Trump's daily press conferences in the Oval Office, where he takes many questions from the journalists who have the honor and privilege of standing before the beautiful Resolute desk. The president and this entire White House are committed to ensuring the American people continue to receive this same level of historic transparency, access, and visibility. In fact, we want to double down and give even greater access to the American people. We want more outlets and new outlets to have a chance to take part in the press pool, to cover this administration's unprecedented achievements up close, front and center.
So, is this going to be, take your guesses, is this going to be kicking out journalists and putting in a select few of yes people, yes journalists that are handpicked by the government? You know, not like a variety of sources, not including, more left-leaning as well as more right. Is that what's going to happen? Let's take a listen.
As you all know, for decades, a group of D.C.-based journalists, the White House Correspondents Association, has long dictated which journalists get to ask questions of the President of the United States in these most intimate spaces. Not anymore. I am proud to announce that we are going to give the power back to the people who read your papers, who watch your television shows, and who listen to your radio stations.
Back to the people. Okay, so you and me, we're going to get to vote and decide, right?
Moving forward, the White House press pool will be determined by the White House press team.
And there we go. The media did not stand up with the Associated Press. And because they didn't, they are now all about to be kicked out of the White House press pool. Everyone saw this coming. Everyone knew this was coming. It is common in fascist regimes. We knew this was coming because it's part of the playbook. Let's keep going. Maybe they make it better.
Legacy outlets who have participated in the press pool for decades will still be allowed to join. Fear not. But we will also be offering the privilege to well-deserving outlets who have never been allowed to share in this awesome responsibility.
See, I would like to know who, right? Are they talking, I don't know, a more local newspaper from Idaho getting a chance to come in and ask about their local problems? That would be amazing. Or are they talking about InfoWars? They're not being very transparent about that, kind of shadowy, but, that's on brand.
Just like we added a new media seat in this briefing room, legacy media outlets who have been here for years will still participate in the pool, but new voices are going to be welcomed in as well. As part of these changes, we will continue the rotation amongst the 5 major television networks to ensure the president's remarks are heard far and wide around this world. We will add additional streaming services which reach different audiences than traditional cable and broadcast. This is the ever-changing landscape of the media in the United States today.
Now, I will say, the idea of additional streaming services, I am not against. And I'm not even against it going on stuff like Rumble, which I don't like Rumble, but because at the end of the day, it's still a press briefing, put it out there. So, That's one thing I'd say, updating that to more services. I think that's mostly, personally, because Trump wants more eyes and be able to say he's been watched more than anyone else. That's my opinion. But I can't fault that. But when we're talking about cutting off news media that's been there for decades, do I trust this administration to actually do it in a way that isn't just bringing in yes men? My answer is no. And why would I trust the White House press pool to do this when they could have some sort of a nonpartisan group do it? My opinion is they're doing the White House press pool so they can bias things to themselves, especially during things they know will get negative press. Imagine Donald Trump is about to announce something he knows that is going to be unpopular with 80-90% of Americans. He can fill that pool now with just yes men who will praise him in the hopes that that is only thing people see, and it starts changing opinions because they don't understand what's going on.
We will continue to rotate a print pooler who has the great responsibility of quickly transcribing the president's remarks and disseminating them to the rest of the world.
By the way, just came to my mind. I'm not even going to do a video on it. Just came to my mind. When he talks about disseminating it to the rest of the world, we just spent, I don't remember, it was multiple millions of dollars on an ad campaign of Kristi Noem praising Donald Trump about the border. We spent that money to be aired in America, claiming it's to tell people abroad. Just saying that sounds like a not good idea of, putting a message out there to the world, but that's what we did with it.
And we will add outlets to the print pool rotation who have long been denied the privilege to partake in this experience, but are committed to covering this White House beat.
Again, I want to know an example. Any example. Give me a name. Maybe I would agree with you. But you're not naming any.
We will continue to rotate a radio pooler and add other radio hosts who have been denied access, especially local radio hosts who serve as the heartbeat of our country. And we will add additional outlets and reporters who are well suited to cover the news of.
I'm going to skip a little bit here because it's about radio and stuff. Let's just go here.
5. A select group of DC-based journalists should no longer have a monopoly over the privilege of press access at the White House. All journalists, outlets, and voices deserve a seat at this highly coveted table. So by deciding which outlets make up the limited press pool on a day-to-day basis, the White House will be restoring power back to the American people.
Again, why is the White House making this choice instead of a nonpartisan group if you're giving it back to the people? Or some form of something that actually would take it back to the people. This is just Trump's people making decisions.
Who President Trump was elected to serve.
And yeah, it believe it kind of stops what they're talking about there when it comes to press. Now, of course, there is something else I have to share with you. This was this morning in Chicago. The plane is coming into land and has to very quickly decide, split-second decision to go back up. Well, why'd they do that? Because they would have crashed and possibly killed everyone on board both planes. Just because I haven't been mentioning plane accidents doesn't mean they aren't still happening. And a lot of people I saw immediately responding, I hope the FAA is doing an investigation into what happened. Well, I mean, there's a hiring freeze and a bunch of people quit, so good luck, I guess. And part of why I included the plane part, if I'm being honest, is so I can show you something that I found absolutely hilarious. This is a real photo of Donald Trump holding a plane. Now, if I zoom in, do you see it yet? Let's get a little closer. Do you see it? Let's go and make sure we get a good zoom in here. That is Elon Musk. The people, the guy people call the shadow president. Shadow. That was said quite a bit in this video, but it's just so funny that he's just lurking in so many photos. He's just there, lurking, waiting. But also not the administrator of Doge, but also they won't say who, because they aren't going to do that. And also the lawyers don't know. But we're going to get rid of that shadowy government, folks.